I did, however, make the stupidest mistake that I've ever made while testing. Hello and welcome back to the Therapy by Craft podcast channel. My name is Eunice. I am the maker and host behind Therapy by Craft. I always forget to mention that you can also find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Therapy by Craft. There are so many more of you guys now. Thank you for being here. I'm so thankful that you are enjoying my company. It really is what it is. There's a lot that I want to catch you up on today. I feel like it's been about a month or so since I last podcasted. And why is it called podcast? Someone mentioned this to me recently. Like, this is not a podcast because you get to see me. Like, it's a video. Vlog? But I'm not really vlogging my day. I don't know. We're just going to call it podcast. But I don't know why it is called that. Anyway, it's been a while. That's really my main point. It's been a while since I've spoken to you about what's been on my needles and what I've been working on. And so there's a lot. There was a yarn crawl that happened a few weeks ago in late April, and it was so much fun. The LA yarn crawl, I think this year there was like 16 local yarn stores or something like that. It was not something that I was able to participate in the way that I wanted to. I couldn't visit all 16 stores, but I did visit the 3 stores that are local to me. And I know how that sounds because I'm very lucky to have 3 stores that are like less than 5 minutes from my house. So I'm very privileged, I know. But I'm very biased towards Buku yarns because that is my favorite. I teach there and I'm friends with the owner, Amanda. And there are a lot of women who frequent Buku who have become good friends to me, and I feel a lot of affection towards them. You know who you are, ladies. So I'm quite biased towards that store, and that's the store I usually go to if I need to make any runs to get yarn or notions or anything like that. But because of the yarn crawl, I decided to visit the other 2 local yarn stores to me, which is Phoebe's Needle Works, I think, like Phoebe's, and Yarnaholic, both of which are in Claremont, which again is like less than 5 minutes from my house. So it was good. It was fun. I will put some footage at the end so that you guys could also get a peek into the 3 various stores that are around my neighborhood. And actually, the coolest thing happened during the yarn crawl. I went to Buku last because I knew I was going to spend more time there, and I wanted to, you know, support Amanda and see how she was doing and bring coffee if she needed it or whatever. I knew that I was going to spend the most amount of time at Buku, so that's where I went last. And while I was browsing around the store and looking at all the beautiful yarn that she had on display, I heard this voice behind me. And it was the sweetest thing. She was like, "Oh, I think I saw you last night." And I turned around and was like, "What? What does that mean?" And she was like, "Aren't you Therapy by..." And I was like, "Oh, yes, I am Therapy by Craft." And then this other lady across the store was like, "Hey, I follow you on Instagram." And I was about to like ball up in the fetal position in the middle of the store because I have zero chill. And I was like, this is so surreal. This is craziness. I was so tickled by that experience. I couldn't believe it. And yeah, because honestly, in my head, I'm like, I'm a nobody. I'm like this big, right? Not to like be self-deprecating, but just honestly speaking, I'm just a normal person. And so for people I had never met before in real life actually come up to me and recognize me from this channel was mind-blowing. It was really strange and amazing at the same time. And so I semi-harassed this lady into taking a picture with me. And I was like, "What was your name? Oh my gosh, do you mind if we take a picture together?" And she was amazing. Her name is Gina. Hello, Gina. Thank you so much for approaching me and saying hello. It was, yeah, it totally made my entire weekend. And I came home and was again, I zero chill, very animated with my husband about that experience, and he was able to celebrate with me. And so yeah, that was really, really cool. I'll share the picture that I took with Gina at the end as well. And since then, I think I've run into a couple of folks at Buku who have recognized me from this channel. And yeah, it like blows my mind every time. I met this sweet young lady named Lexi. Hello, Lexi. And she's also local to this neighborhood as well. And I think, yeah, I love that store, and you can probably find me in there at least a couple times a month. My daughter really likes that store. She loves going and hanging out with the shop dog Ozo. And so, yes, I have a very special relationship with Buku yarns. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I am totally biased. I recognize this. And I've talked at length about, I don't know, the store. So I'll stop now. But in any case, thank you for being here. I appreciate all of the new subscribers. If you are interested in sticking around, I think the best way to put it is, if you don't mind my company, like if you enjoy hanging out with me and you enjoy me talking at you about yarny things, then please subscribe. Let me see. I don't have a schedule. I was hoping to have a schedule, like a regular like time each week or each month that I like post stuff, but I've just decided, look, I can't do it that way because one, I'm way too excited to share things with you, and when I feel this burst of energy to talk to you about things, I just want to do it. So sometimes it happens on a weekly basis. But then also there are times in my life where things are super busy, or I feel really stressed and overwhelmed about things, and I don't want to pressure myself to podcast. I don't want to have this be a chore. I want this to be something that's enjoyable to me, because I think that's the energy I want to exude. So all that to say, I'm unpredictable. So if you like what you're seeing here and you want to hang out with me, hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell so that you can be alerted to when a new video is up. Let's see. Yeah, this is actually the second time that I'm recording this podcast, because the first time that I tried earlier this week, there were so many failures. There were so many things that went wrong, and sitting down to try and edit that video, I was like, okay, this is a mess and I don't like it, and it is stressing me out. It would stress me out more to edit this than to just sit and talk to you again. So that was a dress rehearsal, and this will be the real deal. Hopefully less chaotic. But enough of that. Let's just go ahead and jump to it. I have 3 finished objects to share with you, but I only have 1 to show, which is this Helianthus tank that I finished. It was a test for Andrea Gaughan, and it's my very first summery, spring, warm weather garment of this year, and I'm very pleased with it. It is a bottom-up tank knit in fingering weight yarn. I knit mine in Knitting for Olive's Cotton Merino in the colorway Mole, and it was delight. It was a delight to knit up. It actually went by much more quickly than I anticipated. I think I knit this on a US 2.5, which I don't remember what the millimeter is, but it's a pretty small needle. So I was a little bit nervous about how quickly this was gonna go. I didn't want it to feel like a drag, but it honestly didn't. It felt like it went by pretty quickly. And it's straight stockinette in the round. So I knit on this when I was reading. I knit on this as I was listening to audiobooks. It was very easy for me to knit on this as I was like participating in like Zoom meetings and stuff. So it went by pretty quickly. I made a couple of modifications to it. The pattern calls for a tubular cast on and tubular bind off for all of the edges, but I didn't do that. I think the cotton content in the yarn made for the gauge to be just off. the gauge called for in the pattern is 28 stitches for every 10 centimeters or 4 inches, but I met the gauge in my swatch, but I didn't meet the gauge as I was knitting this up, and it ended up being more like 26 stitches for every 2 inches or every 4 inches. So this is actually looser than it's intended. The tank is intended for negative ease, like about an inch or so of negative ease, but mine has positive ease. So yeah, I kind of messed up on that. But all that to say, it was a pretty quick knit. Modifications. Okay, so tubular bind off and tubular cast on I did not do. It messed up my gauge, so I opted not to do that. I did a normal, like a regular long tail cast on. I can't remember if I did the Norwegian or just the standard long tail cast on, but it was at least a stretchy cast on so that I could, you know, it'll be comfortable. And the pattern also calls for a half twisted rib on all the edges, but I also did not do that. I think, again, my gauge does wonky things when I do the half twisted rib. Even in wool, it kind of does that, but in the cotton blend, it absolutely did that. And so I ripped it out and I was like, Andrea, can I just do a 1 by 1? And she said, yeah, that's fine, as long as you like it. I said, cool, I think I will. So I did 1 by 1. And I lengthened it. So her version is cropped, and the tank is, I think, intended to be a cropped tank. But when I saw her post this tank, I really liked how, I don't want to say like conservative it looked, because I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but how modest the design was. So I have some softness here in my underarms that I feel a little self-conscious about, but this gives nice coverage in the side boob area, which I appreciated a lot. It also doesn't have a very low neckline, which means that I can wear this to work, and that was really, really important to me, because what I'm learning about my knits and about just who I am in my life is that I need to be able to wear my knits to work for them to get the wear that I hope I will get with my handmade stuff. So if the neckline is too low, or if the v-neck is too low, then the likelihood of me wearing it regularly or multiple times each, like in a year, is just not, it's just not likely. So when I saw Andrea's photos, I wanted to test it. I wanted to get involved in this process because I could tell that it was going to be very wearable for me. And it has been. It's proven to be true. So if I was going to be wearing this a lot, and especially to work, I also needed it not to be cropped. So I asked for permission to lengthen it, and I did. I lengthened it by about 3 inches, 2 or 3 inches. And it's perfect. It hits me right at my hip. So it is a very good length for me to either tuck into my trousers or to wear out, and then I just do like a little French tuck, or I have like a long skirt that I like to wear, and I'll just tuck the whole thing into my skirt and it stays put. It's been really good. I highly recommend this. The pattern is clear, it's easy to follow, it's not very long, it's straightforward, and I think Andrea does a great job of being concise and succinct in her explanations so that you can follow it no problem. Okay. I did, however, make the stupidest mistake that I've ever made while testing this tank. What you see here is actually not the tank that I had shared with you before as a whip, believe it or not. This is what I had shared with you before as a whip. I did the same modifications that I was telling you. I knit up about like 11 or 11 and a half inches of the body in the round, bottom up, right? And I was splitting for the front and back when I realized, oh, wait a minute, the numbers are wrong. And so I counted it again and again. I counted the number of stitches for the front, and then I bound off for the side seams, and then I did it again, and I did it about like 4 times, thinking that maybe Andrea's numbers were wrong, because that's kind of part of the testing process, right? Like you You make sure that all the numbers are correct. It is possible that the designer had numbers that were erroneous, like in the pattern. But it was a pretty bad, like it was pretty off, like very, very much off. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't making a fool out of myself before I reached out to Andrea and said, hey, I think your numbers are wrong. So I went back and I counted the rib portion at the very bottom to just make sure that I had casted on the number of stitches called for in the pattern for my size. And I was off by 30 stitches. 30 stitches. Not 5, not 10, 3, 0. 30 stitches. I was so flabbergasted. I couldn't believe. Ugh. I hope that you are groaning with me. I told my husband when I realized my mistake, and I was like, I cast on 30 stitches less than I needed to for the size, and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, sorry. Like, he couldn't really match my devastation. So that was not very satisfying because he couldn't understand, but I know you can. I know you know what I mean. So I hope that you feel empathy with just how devastating this was and just how stupid I felt that I had done all this work and I was wrong the entire time. Nobody tells you that you need at minimum a first grade level of counting skills in order to do any kind of knitting. Anyway, I felt so stupid. And I also felt nervous and devastated that I might not be able to finish this test. I was like, it was like halfway, like we're at the halfway mark of the testing period. And I was very sad because I didn't want to not finish the test. And so I messaged Andrea and said, look, I screwed up. Like I royally messed up and I cast on I cast on the wrong number of stitches. Like it was really bad. Can I make the size down? And even I didn't even meet the number for the next size down actually. And I sent that message to her and I slept on it and I realized, no, you know what? I don't want to do that because I want to make sure that I'm able to promote her pattern, and she needs from me, and what I committed to as a tester is to give feedback on how the garment fits and that it's supposed to fit the way that it's supposed to fit, right? So I sent the message off to her, but like an hour later, I was like, no, I'm going to start over again. And instead of ripping back all this work, because I think that was maybe the most devastating part, I didn't want to like rip all of this out. Instead of doing that, I figured, look, I'll just keep it and go through with making this. I'll make additional modifications to make sure that, you know, it still looks the way that it's supposed to look, but I'll gift it to a family friend. There are enough women in my family who are smaller than me that I can gift it to them. I have enough knit-worthy women who are smaller than me. I'm sure my cousin would be able to rock this. I also know my mom would be able to fit it. So I decided to go, I just had enough yarn to just put this to the side and cast on a brand new one. And I hope that speaks to how quickly this knits up, because I was still able to do it. As you can see, I mean, I'm wearing this finished object, right? Despite having to start all over again in the middle of the testing period, I was able to finish the tank no problem. I made sure like 5 times, I counted like 5 times to make sure that I cast on the correct number of stitches, and it was smooth sailing from there. I think there's a theme. Each time that I think that there's a mistake in the pattern, it really is me. It's because I don't know how to count. I just need to know that. Eunice, you have a handicap for counting. You're not a good counter. So get help. Use stitch markers. Do what you need to do to make sure that your counts are correct. Anyway. So this is the finished tank. I really like it. I've worn it several times. The one thing that I will say about this tank is that it does seem to be a little bit narrow on the, like the straps seem to come in a little bit more than where my bra straps want to sit naturally. So I'm wearing like a little bralette underneath, and you can see my straps are pretty thin, but if I wear this bra, or any bra really, with this tank, what ends up happening is it like naturally just wants to sit a little wider and away from my neck, and I have to adjust my bra strap pretty regularly, which honestly, I don't care that much about that. Yeah, I don't mind. But I know that some people do care about that. So if you are one of those, just know that it might just kind of peek out. See, I didn't even really do anything, but the bra strap wants to peek out a little bit. I did let Andrea know, so she is aware. And honestly, when I see the tester photos and I see like the chat for this particular test, no one else seems to really mind. I think the fit for everybody is really great. This might be because my gauge was off also. Like I said, the test or the pattern is like the garment itself is designed to have a bit of negative ease, but mine doesn't. Mine has positive ease. And so, yeah, I don't know if that makes a difference, but maybe it does. I don't know. But anywho, okay, enough about that. The next two finished objects I don't have with me because I gifted them. One of them is the Ranunculus top, the Ranunculus top by Midori Hirose, right? Midori Hirose. And it was my third or fourth Ranunculus to date. I made mine in this yarn here. Oh, where is it? Oh, here it is. It is Plymouth Yarns Moon Shadow yarn. It is an alpaca and cotton blend. 68% baby alpaca and 32% Pima cotton. And it's nice. I wish I had done better to take pictures or a video of the finished garment before I sent it off, but I didn't. The top was made for my aunt who lives in Korea. I knit a lot and I gift a lot to my family here in the States, but I don't get to gift my knits a lot to my family who's in Korea because of shipping costs and stuff. But one of my aunts, I have two, one of my aunts is going to Korea this week. And so I wanted to send with her gifted knits for my family in Korea, which is why I quickly knit up the Ranunculus top and I sent it over to my cousin, I sent it over to my aunt so that she can take it with her when she goes to Korea. But this yarn was really amazing. I purchased it from a D-stash sale that somebody on Instagram was holding, and I had never worked with this yarn before, but I really liked the color, and she was selling 8 balls for a discounted price. So I snatched it, and I'm so glad that I did. I only used about 3.5, not even half, like 3.25 balls to make a short-sleeved Ranunculus top. And it was so flowy. It was, yeah, it was amazing. It was a really great finished fabric. I actually took it with me to Buku and like made everybody touch it because I was like, look at how soft this is. And I asked Amanda, would you be willing to carry this yarn? And so, you know, we were strategizing a little bit. And what was really great about this is I typically stay away from alpaca blends because they seem to shed. I know that the drape in the alpaca yarn, the alpaca fiber is amazing. I find it to be incredibly soft, but I also find that it sheds quite a bit, and I don't like that. So because of that, I typically stay away from alpaca yarns. It's like reluctantly. I wish I could use it, but it just sheds everywhere, and I don't like that. This yarn, however, is the construction of the yarn is like a chainette construction. Like it looks like it's braided. Yeah, it looks like there's like the fibers are braided together, so it didn't shed that much, which was amazing. So as I was working with it, there weren't a lot of floof flying around everywhere. It was pretty smooth, and again, the finished object was really great. And when I tried it on, I was like, oh, this is pretty nice. Yeah. So I have about 4.5 more balls, and I think it'll be enough to make like a square tee or something like that, like another kind of summer top. So yes, I'm very, very stoked. The last finished object is actually a pair of socks. It is the Treasured Toes sock patterned by Treasure Goddess. I don't remember what her first name is. I think it's Christina, but yeah, I can post a picture of it. I did take a picture of my finished object, and it is on my Instagram page as well. And I sent that over to the same aunt who's going to Korea because it was her birthday and I wanted to gift her something that was handmade. She is a piano teacher and she's so cute. Actually, she has the same energy as me. So my mom is pretty introverted and, you know, like a very gracious, like a very graceful woman, whereas my mom's youngest sister, which is my aunt, she's like, she also has like puppy dog energy, and she is so bright and sunny, and I don't know, she's really amazing. And I think that I relate to her quite a bit in terms of like our personality and stuff. So I sent over the socks to her, and she sent me pictures of her wearing it as she was like teaching her piano students, and she was so happy with it and telling me that she was bragging to all of her students about these socks that her niece made her, and that gives me so much joy. Yeah, like my aunt, my mom, my cousin, they're so knitworthy. They actually wear the things that I make them, and they send me pictures, and it just, it makes my heart so full. I love that. And I hope you guys have people in your life like that too, because I cannot tell you how amazing that feeling is. Actually, I hope you know what I'm talking about, how amazing that feeling is. Anyway, okay. So I really enjoyed making those socks, and I decided that I'm going to make another pair. So transitioning now into my whips, this is the Treasured Toes socks that I started for myself. And I had shared in my previous episode, right, about my struggle with 2 at a time socks. And you guys were amazing. You guys were great. And thank you for all of the suggestions. I think that top suggestion was to do 2 at a time in tandem instead of having both socks on one magic loop. You guys had suggested to get like 9, either to have 2 magic loops going on at the same time, or to have 2 9-inch circulars so that you're working on each sock in tandem. And I think that's a wonderful idea. I bought some 9-inch circulars at, you know, the recommendation of you guys, and I tried doing socks on 9-inch circulars, and y'all, my hands are cramping just thinking about it. I felt like a little gremlin, like a little troll I just felt so clumsy. My hands are cramping up. I felt like I walked away from like 15 minutes of trying to knit with the 9-inch circulars with my hands stuck in this like raptor position because I couldn't do it. So bless you guys, like seriously bless to all the folks who are able to do the 9-inch circulars. Y'all are my heroes. I can't do it. And I don't want to have, I don't know, I don't feel like doing the magic loop on 2 separate things, because then it feels like 2 whips. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like just 1 whip. It feels like 2. And that stresses me out. So it's okay. I decided that's fine. My problem with the second sock syndrome, as I mentioned before, is not really lack of motivation anyway. Usually by the time I finish sock number 1, I'm excited to start the second one because I am like, I'm so close and this is so cute and I want to do it again. Like that's not a problem for me. So what I decided was I'm just going to embrace that about myself, and I am not going to fuss or worry about doing 2 socks at the same time. I will just knit 1 sock at a time, and that'll be fine. I also am a continental knitter, so I like to hold the yarn, the working yarn, in my left hand as I knit. And I realized that I like being able to turn my work without dropping the yarn. So yeah. Why is that relevant again? Oh, okay. I think that's going back to the whole 2 at a time sock thing. I don't like having it in tandem because it feels like 2 works in progress instead of just 1. I don't like doing the double 2 at a time on a big magic loop because I don't like to drop my yarn. Yes, there it is. That's why that makes sense. Yeah, I like holding my yarn and just keeping it held in my left hand as I just turn the work, go, go, go. Turn the work, go, go, go. Turn the work, go, go, go. It's not a problem for me. It's actually very quick and simple. So I'm embracing that. And I have my second sock on the needles now. And I'm at the foot portion of it. I did 10 rounds of the cuff in 1x1 ribbing. Then I did 60 rounds for the leg. And then I did my heel flap and gusset. And I'm working 50 rounds for the foot before joining the toe color. And I think that's a really good fit. That's the exact recipe that I had used for the Treasure Toes sock that I had sent over to my aunt, and I tried them on before I sent it to her, and it's perfect. I think those are my magic numbers, as Andrea Lowry would say. Those are the magic numbers for me for socks on the fingering weight yarn. Okay, what else? Oh, the yarn. This is Malabrigo sock. I have been obsessed with these highly speckled, almost staticky looking yarn these days. I don't know what it is. I love it. And I paired it with, I think this is Red Hot or Big Red by Buku, by Amanda. She dyes her own yarn. And I paired these two together and thought, oh my gosh, that's freaking beautiful. So those are the yarns. What was really interesting to me about the Malabrigo sock yarn though, is that there's no nylon content in it. Did you know that? I was like, what? Why would you do that? But Malabrigo's sock base is 100% superwash merino. There's no like nylon. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I also think it'll be okay. I decided that where there's going to be the most amount of wear in the sock, so like the heel and the toes, I'll use like a standard sock yarn, like a true sock yarn that has nylon content in it. This has 20% nylon. So I figured like I'll just do the heel, toes, and cuff in like a true sock yarn, so that hopefully it'll help with the wear of the yarn, like of the sock, like it'll last longer. But we shall see. It's all good. It's just something that I was very interested to like note. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say before I move on is I loved hearing about how you guys style your hand knit socks. I have been trying to wear them more and more out in the real world and pair them with my shoes and see how it looks and sort of, you know, just rock it, like be confident about it and whatever. And I created a hashtag on Instagram, and it is Style My Sock Knits. Style My Sock Knits. Yes. I would love, love, love to see a visual of how you style your hand knit socks, especially in the summertime when maybe you don't want to wear your knitted garments and it's a lot easier to wear your socks instead. I had to look up some of the shoes that you guys were mentioning to me, like, oh, I like to wear it with this, or I like to wear it with that. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are those? And so I had to like Google it, and it was super cute, and I wanted to just see it. So please use the hashtag. I created the hashtag a couple of weeks ago, but no one's used it, which is also fine. It could also be my own catalog of how I style my sock knit, my hand knit socks. But I'd love to see how you style yours. So please use the hashtag. And I know that once I'm done with these socks, and once I start wearing these out in the real world, I will let you know about it. I'm gonna do another plug here because I have plans to join, I think it's Amanda and Carson. They're doing like a special skein knit along to promote just this idea of like, hey, let's use these beautiful single skeins that have been in our stash. Let's like do something with them. And I love that idea. And so I am planning to make socks with one of my special single skeins and join the knit along in that way. I have many to choose from. I have a lot of special skeins. When I purchased this yarn, it actually came in like a fade or like a bundle of more highly speckled yarn. And it was this. This was my only purchase from the yarn crawl. But look at these amazing speckled yarns. Ah, aren't they beautiful? I've just been really loving these. So I might pick one of these to make more socks for the knit along, or I might use this. It's from Explore Knits. It's in the Denali sock base, and it was from Ali's National Park collection. It's the Killarney National Park and Muckross together, and I love this. And this one I think is truly maybe more in the spirit of the knit along because I've just been holding on to it because it's so special. And it's, yeah, I love the colors. I love nature. I have been just like holding on to it because I feel like I need to find the perfect project for it. But since I'm on this sock kick right now, maybe I'll finally break into this to knit a pair of socks for myself. I am eyeing a pair. I think Carson had made a pair of socks a while back, and I can picture it in my head, but I don't remember what it's called. I'll post a picture if I can remember. But it's like a lacy version of, like, it has like a braided motif, I think, on the sock. I don't know if it'll look good in this variegated yarn, but I don't know. Who cares? Whatever. Maybe I'll just do it anyway and see how it goes. But join me as I join them in this knit along. Even if you, I don't know, even if you don't join the knit along within like the time frame or the dates or whatever, which I don't know what the dates are, I just think it's a good practice to use the yarns that are in your stash and to really enjoy the yarns that I've purchased, because that's what I purchased them for, to enjoy them. But anyway, okay, that was just a random plug. But yeah, that's my first work in progress, these socks. Next work in progress is a test knit. I am testing for Sarah Opie, and I am testing the Resource Raglan, and I will show you where I am in that progress. Ta-da! I've made it pretty far, actually. I finished both of the sleeves, and I have about 3 or 4 inches left of the body, maybe not even 4, maybe just 2 or 3 inches left of the body before binding off with an I-cord. I am knitting mine in Knitting for Olives Merino in the colorway Dusty Rose, and I'm knitting the size 7 in the 24 gauge portion of her pattern. What to say about this test and this knit? So, like I said, I have recorded this episode earlier on in the week, and as I was recording this, I had shared, or I'd said out loud, that I've really been struggling with this test. And I gave my reasons for it, and afterwards I realized I don't think I told Sarah directly how I've been doing with this test. Normally when I test something, I like to post about it on my Instagram page. I like to promote it because I think the process of the knit is just as important to promote than than just the finished garment. I want people who are following me to know about how it is like making this garment. I want them to know the modifications that I've made, the bumps and struggles that I run into as I'm working it up, blah, blah, blah. But I've been quite silent about this test, and upon reflection, I realized that it's because the pattern itself is like 200 plus pages, like almost 300 pages of content that was sent over for the testers to use in creating their top. So I shared a little bit more, and I will share with you kind of what my experience has been like with this. But first I wanted to share with Sarah, because this is her task, this is her baby, and she has toiled and labored so much to bring this to the world. And I thought she deserved to know. And I'm happy to report that since I shared with her how I was feeling about the test, she is such a beautiful human being, and she responded very quickly, was super understanding and gracious about the sense of like overwhelm that I had with this pattern. Her response could not have been more beautiful, honestly. So I wanted to share that with you too, that testing for Sarah has been nothing but a pleasure, even though the pattern itself was a struggle for me. So I am going to share with you what it was, but I just wanted to preface everything with that nothing I'm about to share is a commentary on Sarah or her work. I think the value of her work is gold. It's absolutely insane in the best possible way. Everything I'm about to say is more of just kind of where I'm coming from and where I'm at in my life, perhaps. So anyway, the pattern is really a guide. It allows whoever purchases the resource to make so many variations of a top-down raglan garment. Like I had mentioned before, there's various gauges. So there's the 24 stitch gauge, the 22 stitch gauge, the 20 stitch gauge, and the 18 stitch gauge. So essentially, from fingering all the way to Aran weight, you could use whatever yarn you have in stash to make this top-down raglan. She also provides different fade views. So I'm making mine in one color, right? So no fade, but she also provides information if you want to do a fade, like a 2-color fade, 3-color fade. What's those, like, was it like a 7-color fade? I don't think that's right. That sounds like a lot. But it also sounds like something Sarah would do because she's amazing. Like she provides information and guidance for how to do a fade. There's long sleeve version, quarter sleeve length, like short sleeve, which is what I did. So many different kinds of raglan designs, high, mid, low neckline. The possibilities are endless. And for those of you who are interested in that, like who are wanting to know how to construct and how to design different elements of a top-down raglan, this is for you. I'm so excited for you to have access to this guide because it's amazing. But, I think I am in a place in my life right now where I am fatigued by decision-making. I know I had shared in an episode about like why knitting is therapeutic for me, and one of the things I mentioned is that I get to have a lot of decision-making power. And that is true in some seasons of my life. Like, especially in the pandemic, that was absolutely true. I wanted to have a lot of control, a lot of decision-making power. But right now in my life, I don't feel that way at all. I'm like on the other end of the spectrum where I don't want to have to make any decisions. I want the pattern to just tell me what to do. I want to be able to blindly follow the pattern and trust that if I do X, Y, and Z as the pattern describes, I will end up with this garment that is showing up in the photos. I think it has a lot to do with my work right now. There's a lot of decisions that I have to make at my job. There's a lot of things that I have to sort out and make calls about, a lot of confusion that I have to sort through and make decisions about. Not just on my own, but I mean with my team. But because of that, when I come to my knitting, when I approach my knitting and I sit to do it, I don't want to make a decision. I don't want to make a single decision about the pattern. And poor Sarah, she picked a tester that is experiencing this for a guide that requires you to make a decision for every single part of the garment. And yeah, it was very, very overwhelming for me. Just the amount of visual input I needed to sort through in order to get to here was, yeah, it was just really overwhelming. So, like I said earlier, I think this really is a commentary on me and not on the pattern itself. Because once you decide what you want to do, it's amazing and magical to see it actually come to fruition in your hands. That's such an amazing thing. And I think a lot of the testers have been experiencing that and therefore are on their second or sometimes even third garment using this guide because they want to and they can create different varieties of garments. But I did want to be honest with you about what this process has been like for me, in case you are maybe there also. I also wanted to share how Sarah's response has been to my feedback. And it has been, again, nothing but gracious and kind. And I hope that maybe that will encourage you also to support her in other ways, like maybe not this pattern, but if you were to go in and look at her Alley sweater or her Ayre Tee, for example. She also has an ingrain shawl that I think is beautiful. Oh my God, the fade on that thing is just gorgeous. She also has a lot of sock patterns that I've purchased because, again, she's really great. That if you decide to go and look at her pattern selections, that you can feel confident that you're supporting a really amazing person, that the person behind these designs is just a beautiful soul. So, yeah, I am going to still finish this garment. I think I'm going to get a lot of wear from this top. So I have no qualms about actually finishing it up. I'm at a portion of the garment where I don't really need to consult with the pattern. I'm just going to knit it until I'm happy with the length, bind it off with an I-cord bind off, block it, and wear the heck out of it. Like that's where I'm at. And that brings me a lot of joy. Thinking about that is very satisfying to me. So I did commit to Sarah, hey, I'm going to still finish it. I'm going to give you feedback. The feedback that you're wanting from me. Thank you for receiving this additional feedback in such a gracious way. So yeah, man, I am super chatty today. I hope you're hanging in there. And I hope that all of that information was beneficial to you. I want to be very honest and genuine with you guys about the things that I'm working on. So there it is. The next thing that I have on my needles is also a test. I am working on the Ayre Tee by Hailey at Ozetta. She's also known as Ozetta. And I have a couple of versions of it going on right now. This is the first version. When I saw the pattern, it is a very minimalistic, simple tee that's worked top down. It's seamless and it has a drop shoulder construction. I was very excited about it. I think there was someone who commented on my Instagram like, oh, when I saw the pattern, I was like, oh, Eunice is gonna make it. And I am. You are correct. I immediately jumped on it. The yarn I'm using here is Kathmandu fingering. It is a wool, silk, and cashmere blend. And the colorway is Oyster. It's this beautiful, oh gosh, semi-tonal. And I say that because there's brown in here, obviously, most obviously, but there's also flecks of like pink and beige, and there's little neps in here, so it almost has a tweedy effect. It's really gorgeous, and I wanted to work with this. So I cast it on. However, I got to, I made it this far. So I did the back panel with the short rows, and I started working on the front left shoulder, and I held it up to my neck. And I was like, oh crap, it's prickly. It's like a little itchy. Ugh. I got scared. I made Hailey's Tee, and I tested that one for her as well. And I made that one in fingering, like another Cumbria fingering yarn by the Fiber Co. And that one is a pretty rustic yarn, and the color is amazing. I made it in Buttermere. I think that's the colorway. But because it was a little bit itchy, each time I wear that top, I have to psych myself up. Like, I have to hype myself up. Like, okay, I'm gonna wear it today. I don't think it's gonna be too hot. I don't think it's gonna be too prickly. I'm gonna wear it. I can do it. I want to wear this more than I want to be comfortable in my top, which sucks. Like, why? I still do it because I love the top, but I don't like having to pick between looking cute and being comfortable. Like, I want to look cute and be comfortable. Like, that's what I want. And when I realized that this was kind of prickly, I was like, no, I want to make it, and I want to wear it immediately in the summer without having to make that decision. So I set it aside. I think it'll be fine if I have like a camisole underneath, but for the summer, heck no. I'm not going to wear a camisole underneath. Ugh, not in the SoCal summer heat. No way. Heck no. So I am setting this aside, and I cast on using a different yarn. Where did it go? Instead, I am using this one. It is also by, this one is by Buku Yarns. It was her special, like her specialty yarn that was available last year for the LA Yarn Crawl. And it's called Chic Fingering. That's the base. And it is a non-super, it is a 80% superwash merino and 20% silk base. So it is like so beautiful. It is in the colorway Desert, which I think is one of Amanda's best colorways. I love that colorway. It is like a grayish. There's some browns in here. It's such a beautiful neutral. Oops. And I bought it last year with the intention of making like a sweater, a light fingering sweater out of it, but I never did that. It didn't happen. I've been holding on to this for a year, and it didn't happen. So I thought, you know what? In the spirit of doing the thing that Amanda and Carson's doing, right? Like using your skeins, using the special things that are in your stash, I decided that I'm going to use that special yarn, or this special yarn, for the Ayre Tee. It's already beautiful. It's working up well. I am using a US 3 for this top, and the other sample that I showed you with the Kathmandu went by pretty quickly, so I think this is going to go by pretty quickly as well. I am very excited for it. I love testing for Hailey. She is a sweetheart as well. I love being able to meet designers. We're just good people. You know what I mean? Like, they're talented, but they're just like really good people. Yeah. Okay, anyway. So this is the other thing that's on my needles right now. I have another test that I'm participating in. I think it's the Viola Tee or the Violetta Tee. It is for a new designer. Her name is Sarah as well. And it is a children's top, and it's a raglan, and it has these like beautiful scalloped, like the scalloped color work details, in the contrast color. And I was going to use the Knitting for Olives cotton merino that I had left in my stash, but after making this top, I realized, oh, I feel the garment. It's not very itchy, not like, you know, like very rustic yarns, but it is something that I can feel. And my daughter has pretty sensitive skin, so I'm going to wait until my woolly knit cotton cones come in. For those of you guys who were not able to participate in Bethany's Well Loved Knits and Woolly Knits knit along, you can participate now in the Tulsa Tee like knit along with the Celathea and Woolly Knit. So now for summer, they have 20% off of their cotton cones. It's for a limited time, but I know it's happening right now. Like at the time that this video is live, it's going on. So check out Rebecca at the Celathea. She will give you the discount code that you can use at the Woolly Knits website to get the discount for their knit along. So I purchased some cones. I really am finding that I like Woolly Knit quite a bit. So I purchased their cotton cones, and I will be using those for the Viola Tee or the Viola Tee. I also purchased the Tulsa Tee because it looks amazing. And I think Rebecca said that she's going to be releasing a fingering weight version soon. I think it's going to be so good. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm all about it. Yes. Okay. The last whip that I want to share with you is this. Oh, I'm like in the middle of a row. It is my Jelly Roll blanket by KF Jones. It is a DK weight version of it, and I will hold it up for you in a second. This was heavily influenced by the Sock Lady, which is another K. I don't know her last name though, but K from the Crazy Sock Lady also has this DK weight Jelly Roll blanket that she's working on. And when I saw that it was garter stitch. I saw that it was, you know, modular, meaning like you join the sections as you go. I knew that I wanted to do one as well. Oh, this is going to be really difficult to show, but here it is. And I'm on the third strip. So this is actually the right side. The seam that you see here is actually the right side of the blanket, and it is, I don't know, it feels really whimsical to me and very cottagey. Is that the right word? But it's going by so quickly. The last time I showed this to you, or the first time I showed this to you, I was here where the marker is, and since then I finished that first strip, I finished the second strip, and now I'm on the third strip. This has been a really great place to come to in between projects or when I just need something mindless. Like I said before, I don't like making decisions about things right now. So when I just want to sit and watch Netflix and like knit, this is what I've been coming to. When I realized the crazy mistake that I made with a Helianthus tank, and I needed to just put it in the naughty corner for a little bit and have it on timeout before I mustered up the courage to start again, this is what I came to. And it's been, this has been a very good comfort knit. I am using DK scraps, but I've also like broken into my fingering weight scraps and just holding them double. My favorite thing about this, besides just the process of it being comforting, and it's like 18 stitches at a time, so it goes by quickly. The other favorite thing about it is that it can use up your entire scrap ball. So for other things like granny squares or even like my Vertices Unite shawl, there's a certain number of grams that you needed for each section, but not this. I can just use up the scrap all the way through, and since it's in 18 stitches, like 18 stitch increments, if I run out of yarn, I could just like weave in the new one and then start. So then I have barely any scraps left, and then I barely have anything left over from that scrap, which feels really, really good. And it like it feels very like purging. Is that the word? I don't know. But anyway, yes, I'm very excited about this. This is just going to be something that I hold on to, but I have been working on it, so I wanted to show you. So that's the last whip that I wanted to show you guys, but I also have one last thing that I wanted to catch you up on, which is my Chaika top. Do you guys remember this? Yeah, this was from like maybe a month and a half ago that I had like feverishly cast this on and like done this much work in about 3 days or something crazy like that. And if you remember, I had run into a hiccup because something about this just wasn't feeling right, and the underarm was like really, really wide, and I don't know, it just wasn't working out. So my original plan was to rip back to the underarms and fix it. But I realized that I don't want to do that. And here is why. Most raglan tops are constructed with like regular, like four areas of the garment where increases are happening on a regular basis. So if I were to show you my resource raglan, you can see very clearly that there are 4 areas of the garment, like 2 in the front. Well, I'll just do this. There's 2 in the front, right? 1, 2, and then there's 2 in the back, right? You can clearly see where the increases are happening. And there's 4 of those areas. For this top, there's only 2. So if you have like 4 increases happening at the same time, it's a lot easier to make the garment fit on a 3-dimensional body. It just makes it a little bit, yeah, more dimensional. But because there's only increases happening on 2 portions, which is like the top of the shoulders here, it is very 2-dimensional. It's like very flat. And so the underarm shaping for this top, there's a lot going on. It's a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to say exactly what it is that the designer has you do, but there's a lot of like random increases and a lot of finagling in order for the garment to fit a 3-dimensional body, like at the underarms. So I think that's why I don't like the fit. I think that's why, I don't know, I'm not enjoying it that much. And even thinking about going back to fix it is causing me some stress, and it makes me want to curl up into fetal position and just sleep. I can understand why that design element is there though, right? Like the feature of this top is this dramatic collar where it's not a V-neck, but it looks like a V-neck. And that is like the highlight of this top. That's the feature of this top. And if there were raglan increases happening at the underarms, it would kind of take away from this really dramatic thing that's happening here in the collar. So I understand why the designer opted to do the increases this way. And it is a very creative way to do the increases, but I'm just not liking it. I'm not enjoying it at all. So I think I'm going to frog it. I think I'm going to frog the whole thing. I'm not looking forward to it, especially because I caked this up and I'm holding like the yarn stubble. So I have to decide, am I going to cake it up as like a double-stranded ball of cake? Yeah. Or am I going to separate the yarns? There's like linen and silk content in here, and I just, and it's single ply too. So I'm a little bit nervous about what that's going to do to the yarn. But I love the yarn. I think it's such a beautiful yarn. I don't know what the yarn is. I did at some point. But that's useless. That's useless to tell you that. Anyway. But both of these yarns are single ply, and I held them double, and so it's going to be a nightmare to rip it out, but I'm going to attempt it. But that's the update for you on this, in case anybody was wondering. And I actually think that's about it. I do have some acquisitions, but I don't really care to talk about them right now. I mean, I already told you I got these, right? And then I have my woolly knit cones coming. But right now, I think I am really just focusing on the tests, really focusing on being a good tester. And by good tester, I mean, 1, providing honest feedback, as well as completing things on time and really engaging with the test and being honest with you guys as I promote the designs. And yeah, really focusing on self-care. And on that note, I think self-care has been elevated to a status that is unhealthy. Meaning, I think we say self-care, self-care, self-care so much that we forget that the best kind of care is actually when we are cared for by others who are safe to us. And so I want to practice that. I've been trying to practice that more. Yeah, I can take care of myself. And yes, there's no like shame or nothing bad about being independent and self-sufficient and all of that. But I also believe we're not really intended for that. I think really the best kind of care is when someone who loves us and someone who cares for us reaches out and fills a need that we can't fill ourselves. And so a part of what that means for me lately has been asking my husband for help, letting him know when I'm struggling, letting him know when I feel really overwhelmed, and allowing him to help me and being specific about it and not being mad at him for not knowing or not reading my mind. My camera just died, but that's okay. So what I was saying is that I have been trying to practice being cared for instead of having to take care of myself, by asking for help with my husband and really letting like my boss know, my friends know when I'm not doing well, so that, yeah, the people who love me can love me. And I think that kind of care that I am able to receive has been so life-giving at this season of my life right now. So I hope that you guys are also able to knit and to have some joy and have some peace. And maybe for those of you guys who have been practicing self-care exclusively, maybe you will allow yourself to be cared for by people who do love you, because I am pretty sure they want to know how you're doing. And if they truly do love and care for you, then they would want to have opportunities to love and care for you in a meaningful way. So anyway, thank you again for being here. Truly, I am so thankful to you. And if you want to stick around to see some footage of the yarn crawl, then yeah, please do. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me in this very long, chatty episode. All right, bye guys.